So my name's Amber Harris, and I'm thrilled that this is happening here because dialogue is incredibly important. I grew up in upstate New York, and my parents had a small farm. And so we were very connected with the earth, literally, in gardening and in raising chickens and in living in the sticks. You're very connected to the elements. When my parents split, we moved into what we called the city, which was Ithaca, which had 30,000 people. And early on, I felt very, very drawn to the issue of the environment and how important that was when I started seeing some really obvious changes, and became an activist quite early on as well. We lived near an airport when I moved to the city, and something that happened occasionally was that the de-icers for the planes decided that they didn't want a line where they de-iced anymore. And so as a young person, I would see the creek near my apartments turn pink and bubbly. And this is a place where I would play, where I would go and catch crayfish and frogs and really hang out to refresh my soul. And so when this happened, I was really upset, and I went to my mother and I told her about it. And rather than just think that it was somebody else's problem, my mom was brought up in the 60s, and so she was very much an activist as well. And so what she did was she said, we're gonna talk about how we take action with things like this. And so she sat me down and she said, we're gonna make a couple phone calls and see if we can do something about this. And pretty much when my mom decided to do something, it was a done deal. So we called the mayor's office and we called the city council, and we called a bunch of different committee folks and raised the issue that this is not okay, that it's completely unacceptable and what's going on. And we brought people out to test the water from Cornell because Cornell University was right there. And we were actually able to have some real tangible change take place where the airport was mandated to always line their pits, and they were not allowed to have any kind of de-icer overflow into the waterways. So that was my first real taste for activism and how to create positive change around the issues of climate justice. One thing that made it so palpable to me is that we were this pretty poor family, and we lived in this community where it was all people living in apartments, and so I think that the airport felt that this wouldn't be a community that would rise up against them too easily, but my mom being who she was, she really felt strongly about that issue. And I carried that with me in my life. Recently found a paper I wrote in 7th grade about climate change, typed on a typewriter, if you can believe that. And what I said was, these are the effects that will happen if climate change continues. And I had researched it very heavily, and I said, there will be more droughts, there will be more flooding. I remember my teacher went back in and changed all my wills and woulds to coulds and might. And I was so upset by that because I thought, well, yeah, but science says if this happens, this will result. So even back in the 80s, there were these naysaying folks who were supposed to be progressive saying, well, let's not talk quite that strongly about this issue. So I feel like gatherings like this are important because they allow us to shout louder in our communities, to our friends, to each other, and just reflect back that this kind of action is essential for any kind of change now that we're in the boiling kettle.